I thought I'd go ahead and show you guys how to make fermented fruit juice. If it is not something you know how to make, it is very simple. It's exactly the same as fermented plant juice. It's just we're going to be using fresh fruit. So I pick these pears up either off the ground or off the tree early in the morning. That's when you want to harvest for Korean natural farming purposes, any of your plant material or fruit that you're going to be using as an input. So I have these fruit here, and as you can see, either I found them on the ground or they have bug spots, and these aren't necessarily the best ones that we have that we can use just as table fruit or for canning. So what I'm going to be using these for is my fermented fruit juice. So to get started, I'm just going to take a few pears here and dice them up. So the first ingredient to our fermented fruit juice is a fruit. I have some fruit that is overripe, perfectly healthy in other ways, but we might not want to consume them for various reasons. If you've heard of fermented plant juice, this is exactly the same thing, except we're using fresh fruit. Fruit from the grocery store will not work the same. Fruit from down the road at an orchard will work the same. So it's going to be highly advantageous for you to find fruit in your local area. Do not go buy some bananas at the store and expect this to work the same as it would if you have an apple tree nearby or an orchard 20 minutes away that you can actually go pick fresh fruit early in the morning and make this fermented fruit juice with. Just like the other ingredients in Korean natural farming, I'm going to be able to use the whole piece of this fruit, so long as there's no bugs or anything actually in there. You might want to cut those out, but as far as we're concerned, this is going to be totally fine for our fermented fruit juice. So I'm just going to be cutting these fruit up into small-ish chunks. And these pieces are then going to be diced. Doesn't have to be precise. This is no crazy science here. What I'm trying to do is create surface area so that way when we mix these with the next ingredient, which is sugar, that sugar can then, through osmotic pressure, extract the liquid and the nutrients out of these pears. So I have a small jar here. In this case, you can use a small jar, you can use a ceramic, whatever. The importance of what you ferment this in is that it can't leach into your fermented fruit juice. So plastics I would try to stay away from. Glass is going to be perfectly healthy. So I have my scale out. I'm going to weigh my base material, which in this case is a pear, a single pear. You can do this with however much you want. The key is to get the ratio right, which is 1 to 1. So 1 part fruit, 1 part sugar. I have my scale here and I have my dish zeroed out. What I'm going to be doing is just measuring my fruit. So I have 163 grams, 162 grams of pear. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and tare that so it goes back down to 0. And I'm just using this organic cane sugar from Costco. Brown sugar is what's typically used in Korean natural farming, but this stuff works great if you want an organic option. So all I'm going to be doing here is just pouring this on until I get to 162 grams. And there we are, a little bit over, that's fine. And now I'm just mixing. I'm mixing this because I want really good coverage on this fruit with the sugar. Because again, the point of the sugar is to, number one, through osmotic pressure, this granular sugar is going to extract the liquid and what's going to pull out the nutrients and the hormones and things like that. And then it's going to begin to ferment as well. And so the sugars that it's pulling out, the liquid, the nutrients, all that stuff, as this ferments, what it's going to be doing is becoming more bioavailable to the plants that we sprayed on. So this does take 1 week at least to ferment. Once we get to the fermented state, that's whenever we would filter it and put it in a bottle like this. It's shelf stable. Obviously, I made the previous ingredient a little bit earlier than when I'm making this right now, but just for this video, I wanted to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and take my sugary pear, which seems like a dessert. Probably could be a dessert. Put it in my jar here. And you can do this with any amount. Let's say you had 100 pounds of peaches that you wanted to make some fermented fruit juice out of peach. More power to you. You just need to find 100 pounds of sugar and you're good to go. So since I can see quite a bit of sugar in here, I might not need to add a sugar cap. Typically I would be adding a sugar cap, but I still have some left over here and it's gonna do that job for me. So I mixed 1-to-1 ratio, and then on top of that you would add a sugar cap, much like I'm doing here. That can be additional sugar. So it would be a little over 1-to-1, which is totally fine and exactly what you're supposed to do. But in this case, I had enough sugar. I'm able to make a sugar cap. Let's see, I'll use my spatula here. I'm able to make a sugar cap without doing that. So I mixed my diced pear with the sugar. I put a little sugar cap on, and now what I'm going to be doing is just putting a breathable lid. In this case, I have a paper towel on top of my jar. Cheesecloth or something like that works perfectly. And this is going to sit in a cool, dark place for 1 week as it ferments, and then we're going to extract the liquid, filter it out, and that's what we're going to be using as our fermented fruit juice.